and welcome to Coffee with CiCi. I am your host, CiCi, a first-generation immigrant chasing their American dreams. So this will be our third episode, and when my team and we were reviewing our analytics last week, and we were so thrilled and to see the listeners actually tuning in from 24 different countries. And for example, that we have listeners from North America to South America, and from Eastern Europe to Western Europe, and from South Asia to East Asia. So we are so excited to give a shout out of our listeners from our home base, United States, UK, Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Poland, Brazil, Argentina, Peru, Dominican Republic, Bangladesh, Indonesia, India, and so many more. So thank you for listening and subscribing. We hope we are bringing values to you and making your experience both enjoyable and delightful. And our average watching time is about 70 minutes, and we have a dynamic audience with many young listeners. We truly appreciate your participation, and thank you for commenting and dropping your beautiful hearts or thumbs ups. And so it really shows our guests that you are with us. And so together that we can grow faster and greater. As you know, that each episode, we dive into our personal experiences and personal growth challenges and those trophy moments that make life so fascinating. So by sharing these stories that we hope that to inspire and empower each other to navigate our own journeys with more confidence and resilience. So today we are so honored and to welcome an incredibly knowledgeable and fun speaker. So she's not just a women's fitness coach and exercise science nerd with a CSCS designation, but she's also a fitness enthusiast with a passion for helping others. So with 15 years of experience in the fitness training world, she founded her HotFlash Fitness Club, primarily helping women aged from 35 to 60 and to achieve their fitness goals. So as she believes body changes during menopause, and you deserve a strategy that works with you and not against you, because she believes that feeling good is not just a nice to have, it's a nice to have. So get ready to meet your new best friend in living strong and feeling amazing. So Maria, welcome to joining us today.
Thank you, CiCi. That was such an introduction. You're too kind. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, Maria, and your presence means a lot to us because this is our very first sit-down conversation with a fitness coach. So we wanted to explore more with you. And would you like to share an opening remark with our listeners and maybe tell us a little bit about what's on your mind right now? And of course, that we'd love to learn a fun fact about you and something that's special that you haven't reviewed on other platforms yet. Thank you.
Ooh, okay, that's a great question. I actually do have something. You know, the age-old question of, does pineapple belong on pizza?
Right?
I'm gonna say no, but black olives do.
Also,
I am the only one of my friends who enjoys black olives on pizza. And it started back when I was 12. You know, kids don't like to eat weird things, but I did. And we went to this place and I wanted pizza, but the only kind they had was black olive. And they told me, oh, you won't like it. And I'm like, well, I want pizza, so I'll try it. I couldn't get enough. And ever since then, I've always ordered black olives on my pizza. Go figure.
Awesome.
What are the chances?
Yeah, right. That's awesome. Yeah, that's wonderful. And so anything on your mind, your heart right now is opening to our listeners?
Oh, yeah. I just want to take every one of your listeners and give them a big hug and say, whatever you're experiencing in your life that you feel like you're stuck, you're behind the eight ball, you're limited by your own physical limitations or by where you grew up. I just want to tell you, you can shine. And I started my program to mostly reach out to women because women are a little underserved in that area, and in many places they have limitations about who they can be and what they can do. And I just want to be the voice of reason and say it doesn't have to be that way.
Beautiful. Um, And Maria, that's actually we really curious to learn, and then also I love to share with our listeners that about your academical accomplishments, which is your the CSCS designation. And so what does the CSCS designation means is my understanding is the highest designation for a fitness coach and professionals specializing in strength training for athletes, right? And so the certificate holders has the expertise to design and implement safe and effective training, strength training programs. I mean, definitely have science involved. So I see that there are only about 3,389 specialists in the United States who holds this designation, and you are one of them. And how did you and could you tell us more about this prestigious designation and how did you accomplish it and what values has it added to your successful journey?
Yeah, sure. CSCS stands for Certified Strength and Conditioning Coach. So that means that I'm qualified to work with professional athletes at that level. Um, a, it differentiates a personal trainer from being an entry level personal trainer to one that has gone above and beyond to get the education required to carry the title. It does require a 4-year degree or a master's degree. So I do have a master's degree in exercise science. And when I completed that, then I took the CSCS exam, and it was brutal. I'm not going to say it was easy, but it was a 4-hour exam split into two parts that I had to drive an hour. I lived in Pennsylvania at the time. I went to Philadelphia. In fact, I think it was today's January 27th. It was right about now in 2010. And it was so blustery cold, kind of like the weather we're experiencing now. And I went in and it was exhausting, but the accomplishment of having done that, and I passed the first time, you can always retake it, but it's a certification, a designation that puts a personal trainer on the map. So it's really a differentiating factor when the general public doesn't know that these certifications exist, much less what they really mean. So just for example, somebody who has you can become a personal trainer in a weekend, which I think is sad because there is so much to know that enables a good trainer to be able to navigate a person's physical issues and prescribe exercises and build a program that's right for them, that's going to help them rather than hurt them. So I'm proud to have it, and it's something that I will always use. I will always rely on the knowledge that and emerging scientific research that goes with it.
Oh, wonderful. And Maria, that's why is fitness that why is being a fitness coach is so crucial to you?
Gosh, it goes back to when I was a kid. My mom, um, my mom would tell me about different experiences she had in gym class. And my parents were only in their 20s, so they weren't that far out of high school, but my mom would tell me about things they did and physical feats that she was able to do with practice and determination.
Right.
And gym back then was not like it is now. It was much more physically demanding. Like, you got to work out in gym class.
Right.
And she would talk about how proud she made her teacher, because her teacher was very tough and it pushed her limits to excel. And in telling me that, it got me so inspired to do the same thing. I was 8 years old and I'm here doing somersaults and wanting to learn how to do more things and wanting to get stronger. And it was, I mean, I think it's a little unusual for a kid that young to pick up on that, but I was kind of a gym rat ever since.
Oh, beautiful. And so since 8 years old, this has been quite a journey for you.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
definitely.
so what do you think that's, in today's society that, we spend most of our times that in front of the computers and phones and screens, right? It's to be honest, it is not a healthy pattern, but it kind of we are doing it. And what are the key elements or easy steps that if you would recommend us, I mean, so that we can stay lean and maintaining the strains. What?
Yeah, you raise a good point, that in today's world, we're not moving nearly as much as we did on the job. And sitting in one position all day, leaning toward a computer is detrimental for a person's posture. So that's something that a lot of people don't think of, and it's crucial because when you slouch, you constrict muscles that enable your lungs to expand. So it starts on that very basic level. And over time, your body adapts that position as normal. And then when you go to stand up and consciously pull your shoulders back, that feels weird.
Right.
So a few things that you can do to make proper posture feel normal is, I tell people, if you're at a desk for 8 hours a day, make it a point every hour to spend 5 minutes, and even set an alarm if you have to. Set 5 minutes to
Right.
get up, stretch your legs, walk around, move. Do a couple squats, do a little, arm stretch and pull it around, pull over like this. Things that undo what the chair is doing to you.
Right.
And you'll feel that you have better circulation, and that gets translated to having a little more mental clarity, lifting the fog, being able to be a little more energetic to complete the tasks so you can do your job better and feel good at the same time.
Oh, and Maria, do this like a method works for both males and females?
It sure does. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, if you look at traditional gender roles, we have the man going to a job and the woman staying at home. And if that's the case, the woman is often crouching down to play with children, or, in unhealthy positions, cleaning the house and whatnot. In non-traditional, where you have the woman who's out at a job, she might be sitting in traffic for 2 hours a day and then sitting at a desk. And that also goes for men. So what I have to offer does work for both sexes.
Mm. And that's wonderful. And another question that I received from one of the listeners, and then we just curious that from your professional eyes, that when you go to the grocery shoppings, right? Are there any items that you see that you say that I will never buy it, and right? And then maybe give us some ideas of what are those items and are, and maybe explain that's why you wanted to avoid them.
Yeah, that's a really good question, CiCi. There's a saying that goes something like, if they call, if they have nutrition stores, then what do you call the grocery store?
Oh,
Right? because the
Right.
nutrition store has vitamins and natural things in it, but the grocery store you would think would have that too. So I would say when I go to the store, the best places to shop are the walls around the perimeter, where you find your fresh fruits and vegetables, you find your fresh meats, your fresh eggs, your fresh cheeses, and things like that. The aisles in the middle are shelves that hold foods that have been made to sustain a shelf life by
Right.
adding different ingredients to make them last. And some people's bodies respond to them unfavorably. So if you eat something that will be fine in your cabinet for 6 months, your body might not be able to process that ideally. Whereas if you eat fresh food from around the perimeter, like fresh vegetables, your body has a much easier time of digesting it and grabbing the nutrients. If I was to say, is there one thing I would never buy? I can't, I honestly can't think of anything. And I know the right answer is, well, I shouldn't buy that, but I'm not above sweet cravings. I'm not above buying a bag of chips because I just want to chill with a bag of chips or popcorn watching a movie. They're not ideal choices, but as long as they don't become habits, as long as your grocery cart gets filled with the fresh items from around the edges and less quantity from inside the store, you'll be better off for that, for eating the better things.
Right. And then, what's your perspective about organic food?
Ooh, I have a little bit of a controversial perspective on that. I'm not a fan of organic
Mm.
food. I know it's the in thing now, but what I do know is organic food, to be able to sell it as organic, requires licensing that is very costly. And the grocer has to charge more because the food is made differently, but they also have to pay for that licensing. And so I asked a grocer one day, I was going to this little fruit stand, which I love to buy from,
Right.
and I was doing organic at the time. And this is the moment that changed my opinion on it. I said, so these are all organic, right? Like, because I'm
Right.
thinking they're going to give me one answer one time, but are they going to give me the same consistent answer? Is it true?
Right.
And he said, I said, so there's no pesticides on this. And he goes, there are pesticides. They're just different. If there were
Oh,
no pesticides, every piece of produce would have 100 bite marks out of it from bugs.
got
There
it.
is no way to grow, at least not to my knowledge, to grow food in mass quantities with no pesticides at all. They just use a different type. And that's something my expertise is not in. But my understanding is that they use pesticides that are less likely to harm organisms that eat the produce.
Got it. Mm.
So if I'm given the choice between organic and non-organic, I'm picking non-organic every day.
Every day.
Every
Mm.
day, yeah.
Every
I,
day.
I I make a joke and I say, yeah, I bought this whatever. It's organic, but I bought it anyway, even though.
Got it. Got it. And Maria, just from another perspective, I'm just curious that, since the day when I met you, I've learned that no matter in which circumstances, right, you always carry this beautiful smile on your face. And I'm just fascinating, like, what's your secret that, how can others also have such a glory like you?
Oh, that's thank you for that. Um, it's a multifaceted answer. It's a choice. So it's about perspective. And I believe that no matter what a person is experiencing, there are multiple ways to perceive that challenge or that circumstance or whatever it is. I choose joy. And I choose it because it makes me feel contented. It makes me feel grateful And those aren't feelings, those are ways of being. I'm grateful, I'm joyful, and honestly, that comes from the Holy Spirit. I live for Jesus. I'm a child of God, and that relationship with God changes me to be a better person. And I choose to see what good can come from a situation, even though it's a bad one. I choose to wonder how God is going to make this work. So that,
Amen. Amen for that.
amen.
Amen. Amen for that.
Yep.
And Maria, just what are your thoughts about, the chasing the American dreams? That what does that American dreams means for you?
That means for me, yeah, I was born in the US,
Mhm.
so I will say that I've had advantages that some people have not. I went to a public school
Right.
that I thought it was an excellent school. I went to two state schools for college, nothing crazy, Ivy League or anything like that. Um, I felt like I got a good education and I had good opportunities. And the American dream, I think a lot of people take it too far and they're driven by money.
Right.
And while I will say there is absolutely nothing wrong with having money. In fact, God wants us to do well
Right.
so that we can serve others. If you don't have any resources, you can't help others. Um, I choose to see the American dream as a way I can cultivate my best self, bring out my gifts, my abilities, my expertise, logic to do good in the world. So if I can make an impact on the world, then I think I've achieved the American dream.
Oh, beautiful. I learned that you've been helping hundreds of individuals to achieve their fitness goals. I think
Yep.
can I say that you are living your American dreams? Is that is that
I
right?
say that's right. Yeah, that's accurate.
Um, and also that's what's your perspective that or share a pivotal moment that in your life that can shape who you are today?
There have been several. I've thought about that for a long time. Like, I don't have a near death experience. I don't have a moment where, I lost everything and had to rebuild myself. And those are strong drives for many people. I think I've had many that showed up in different ways in my life. Um, Different people I've met along the way. Um, even I'm not a big TV watcher, but I've seen some very impactful movies
Right.
and TV programs that have changed how I think about different things. And I think it takes someone who is self-aware to
Right.
notice those things and self-reflect on, well, how would I be in that situation? And maybe that was a reaction to something that I would like for that to be me. And so I do a lot of self-development work. And when events happen that I see are things that can help hone who I want to be, I take advantage of that.
That's that's so fascinating. And if w- what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
I would say the two biggest challenges that I've had in my life, the first was my divorce. And that was a long time ago. I never thought I would be somebody who would divorce, and I say that almost as an arrogant, like, well, I would never do that.
Right.
But I found myself in a situation where we had irreconcilable differences. And that's the way it went. And despite efforts, there was no saving the marriage. And I had a really hard time with that. I grappled with my bailing on a commitment of such caliber. I took it very seriously, and it made me question who I am and what I really stand for. Did I just want out when it got hard? And those are all questions that I had to come to terms with. And that was a big process in realizing that I didn't know myself as well as I thought I did. So that sent me on a course of self discovery. The other, even more challenging time was when my mother passed away. It'll be 5 years this spring. And we pulled together as a family. And, it just makes me smile knowing that we were there. We have a small family, and we gathered, we took care of her. We gave her the best care that better care than she would have received anywhere else. And I'm proud of our family for coming together and supporting each other when it really mattered. Losing a parent, I was 46 when I lost my mom. And I know a lot of people lost parents. Each of my parents lost a parent way before they were my age. And it's sort of a rite of passage, but it really, for me, it made me go back and rethink who I am. How do I handle a situation like this? And where's the good? Where's the good that can come out of it? In my belief of God is with us, that's what got me through. And I kept saying that to myself. I kept reminding myself that God didn't abandon me. Yeah, my mom passed away younger than we would have liked.
Right.
But here we are. These are things I can't control. And the way I respond to them, the way anyone responds to things they can't control, really dictates their character.
So beautiful. And Maria, you mentioned about that you have this self-awareness and you do self-reflections. Are they considered a part of your like personal growth strategies? Or that's if not, like any other just strategies do you use for your personal growth or personal development?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one kind of flows into the other. So, as a personal growth strategy, at first, when you do it, when you start digging into yourself, it's painful
Right.
because you're faced with things that do I want to admit that I actually said that or that I thought that way? It's like going through the briar patch and coming out the other side healed. And when I decided I'm going to go through this process, even though it hurts, you get to reconcile things that got suppressed. It's like, I'll push that under the carpet for now and deal with it later, later, later. And then later comes, and I decided I'm dealing with things and I'm getting over past hurts. And then that process became not only an occasional practice, but it became part of who I am. So I like to say I check myself at the door as often as I can, because I want to honestly be the person that I think I am and how I would like others to see me.
And Maria, it sounded like you always searching for the next level, and um, you always wanted to develop further. And we're just curious that what inspired you to keep you push forward, and even when things getting really tough.
I've always been very competitive with myself. I can remember being so extreme about it that I brought home a report card with a couple A minuses, and I thought I did terribly. That was unhealthy. That was extreme. But it's really my desire to be the best I can be. You get one lifetime.
Right. Exactly.
and we don't know how long that is.
Right.
I remember I was driving home one night and I was listening to a pastor talk about how any given day you can look at your local newspaper and find an obituary of someone who died younger than you. And
Right.
that stuck with me. And it's really ironic because the next day I got word that my then father-in-law had passed away at 53 suddenly, like he wasn't sick. And that was a real rude awakening. I'm going to be 51 in 2 weeks. If I was him, and my own grandfather died at 53 as well, totally different circumstances, but if I only had 2 years left, like what would I do with them? That's crazy. So it's all a matter of life is such a gamble.
Right.
And I'm not a thrill seeker per se, but you get another day and you get another day and then you had another year. What did you do with it? We have this lifetime to help and serve others and to be our best. Like there's nothing better than that.
Mm. How beautiful. And how about who are you role models, and then how have they influenced your journey?
Oh, I love that question. That actually, a lot of people would choose celebrities, and honestly, that was the first thing that came to mind. But I'm like, I just don't even follow pop culture, so I don't know who I would think of. And then I thought the people close to me that the world doesn't know, but I know. And I would say the biggest and best influences I've had have been teachers.
Mhm.
I've had many, many great teachers, but two stand out. And one is Paul Lanes,
Right.
who's my photography professor for my undergraduate degree. And he taught at the state school. And he was such a wealth of knowledge. Not only how do you operate the camera, how do I make this effect in the darkroom, but he talked about life. All of his lectures, he talked about life. And then, oh, by the way, here's the assignment, and this is what I want you to do, kind of thing.
Right.
But he really taught a person how to think like an artist,
What do you mean by that?
not just take something at face value, but how does it weave into the theme of your life? So he talked about his his college days, his upbringing through the decades, and the challenges he faced and how he overcame them, and how it affected who he became in that day. And I always found that so beautiful. Like a young person can't do that because they don't have the life experience to go with it. And
Right.
now that I've had some decades behind me, now I understand and appreciate that even more.
Beautiful. And then so this teacher of you, and still you're keeping in touch?
Yeah, we do. We do. Yeah. And there's another teacher I had. Unfortunately, she passed away, but when I found out she had cancer and I called her at home, and this was probably around 2000. Um, we talked and she reminded me of a time that I came into her classroom and the book we were charged to read, I hadn't finished it
Right.
until the night before, and the test was that day.
Oh,
And I'm a slow reader. It's just I love to read, but if I could just read faster and comprehend. So I didn't finish it. And I had like 50 pages left.
yeah.
So that night I went home and I finished it. And the end was so impactful. The book was All Quiet on the Western Front. And if you can read the book, read it before you watch the movie. The movie was very well done, but it didn't quite follow the book. And I started to cry.
Yeah.
And she pulled me aside because she had a kind of a rough homeroom. And she's like, don't let them see you cry. And I just couldn't stop. And she was so touched by that moment that this book had such a profound effect on me. She remembered it 15 years later. And
Wow.
she told me that was one of her finest moments as a teacher. So it was ironic that I was able to have that effect on a teacher. It was reciprocal.
Right. So
Yeah.
uh, that how did that your teacher feel that was the moment resonate with her the most?
Oh, she felt proud as an educator. She felt blessed to have students that were hungry for knowledge and that had such an impact from a book that she could have assigned any book. And she chose that one, and that was the one that reached one of her students in a way that is unforgettable.
Right. Um, yeah, totally resonate with me as well. Like I just have a tremendous respect for educators, for teachers. Just
Definitely.
really salute for their, their heart. I mean, they give their heart to the classroom, right? And
They have
then
a hard job.
it's exactly. They always maintain this enthusiasm, right? Every time.
They do. They do.
So it's beautiful, beautiful. And then Maria, that's also another question that from the listeners. Uh, just wanted to learn your perspective. You know,
Hmm.
most some of the the listeners that we have is the young listeners, and then they wanted to learn from you. Um, so how do you manage or maintain the relationship um, with the family expectations? Right? Especially when they don't support you the way that you wanted or needed them to.
That has been an ongoing challenge. Now, I know hands down, without a doubt, my family loves me and they love me unconditionally. I'm very fortunate. But when it comes to career, we have much different opinions on what is acceptable.
Right.
Uh, my family, a place of a little more tradition where you have a job with an employer, and that constituted job security at one time. I came up through thinking, I want to do things different. And I didn't know quite what that looked like, but I always had a thought that I would like to be self employed. People work for companies and somebody owns the company. And I thought, why can't that be me?
Right.
It's been hard learning how to do that. I didn't go to business school. I didn't take management classes because it wasn't important to me at that time. But then I realized that okay, there is sort of a path to follow. But I've always followed that entrepreneurial road with great enthusiasm and almost blind faith
Blind.
that yeah, that this is something I am passionate about and therefore there must be a way. So yeah, there have definitely been hard times on that journey. But here I am doing it. And it's because I've had jobs. I've had some jobs along the way. I either love the job or I hate it. And when I love it, I want to do so well. I want to make improvements. But you have to be at certain levels and has certain influence to make the kind of changes you think would make the company better. And I don't have that much patience either. So my attitude is I'll start a business and I'll be that type of owner. I'll be that manager that people want to work for. I'll be that person who I like to lead from behind. I'm not going to just tell people what to do. I'm telling them, hey, look, this is how we have to do it. What are all of our roles going to be so we can be a team and move forward? And I love that having my own business, I can I can teach what is valuable to me. I can teach what is not mainstream. And from my own experiences and opinions and from everything my education, my higher education has taught me, I know there's a better way. And who else better to deliver that than me?
Beautiful. Um, so beautiful. the so then another question that's from a different perspective, Maria, as you can see, that's the artificial intelligence. It's been like influencing every corner of our lives, right? Daily.
Yep.
So just from a fitness coach perspective, or from your perspective, that how do you see that the rise of artificial intelligence shaping the future of work and the personal growth?
I think right now we're on the brink of something that could be really great. But like anything else that's powerful in the right hands, it can be used for something great or it can be used for something destructive. Right now, I think it remains to be seen how that's going to go. I'm a hopeful, I'm an optimist. I like to believe that good people will step up and do the right thing. And it can be used, I mean, it's already been used to help disabled people. It's been used in so many industries, in even in scientific research that make our lives better. So I'm hopeful that it'll continue to go in that direction. I'm skeptical also because there's so much about it I don't know. Like, is my identity safe? I think that's a loaded question. So it's a little tough to know how much of oneself should be, we'll say, out there, and where that line is as far as our own safety.
Mm. And so you mentioned a couple of times about so self-awareness and self-reflections, and also that resilience. I realized that I learned the cognitive perceive, like I think really kind of a as important part of your personal growth. Can I say that? Is that right?
I think that's accurate.
That's accurate. And then
Yeah.
so uh how about that's the cognitive resilience? So the I understand that's building the foundation, and so the cognitive resilience is like is part of a building that's foundation, lays the groundwork, transforming your desires into reality, right? And then so what our perceptions of the world directly shaping the path that we are taking and to the outcome that we wanted to achieve, right?
Mhm.
So, what is your perspective? And then, how do you view the world and manifest your desire?
Okay. Um, that's a great question. I think there's a lot that goes into manifesting my desire. The first, I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is when I devoted my life to Christ. That set me on a course that was different than the one I would be on without that as a lead. So, in my meditation, in my prayer, in my Bible study, I learn more about the nature of God. And I know that my God has good things in store for me. And that's a fundamental truth for me that I will not waver from. And I believe that the more I cultivate my relationship with my creator, then there will be good things on the other side of that. It's kind of like when people say, well, God doesn't have anything to do with anything. Why doesn't God just give you whatever you want? And if you think of it from a parent-child standpoint, if your kid, when they're 20 years old or whatever, they're an adult and they reject you and they say, you're not my parent anymore, I don't love you, and I'm going on my own way, you still love them. But is it really fair for them to expect you to continue giving kindness and giving gifts and giving, the same relationship to you that you rejected. It's really not rational.
Right.
So when people say that about like they don't believe in God, they don't trust God with their life, and they expect good things. It just isn't rational from a human standpoint. So that's where I get a lot of my, we'll say, process. I trust that as I stay on this path, as I do what I feel like I'm being led to do, that there will be a way to do it. And also, I mean, this is not, let's call it what it is. This is not a free service either. Fitness comes at a cost. And I'm going to say that as a double-edged sword. When someone says, it's too expensive, well,
Right.
compared to what? Because if we don't take care of our bodies, there will be a cost, and
True.
it'll come at a time that is not convenient. It'll come in a manner that is far less convenient, and we'll be forced to deal with it as it comes. It's not uncommon for 50 something men to have a heart attack and die. And I'm not saying that to scare anybody. It's a statistical fact. And that can largely be prevented by having certain tests done, but also by paying better attention to the things we eat and how much we move. And when one goes to hire a professional like me, I don't work for free. CiCi, you don't work for free. And unfortunately, I've had ethical dilemmas with this, that what I do, a person of minimal means, let's say they're working a minimum wage job, or they're on Social Security, they can't afford it.
Right.
So I do have things I put out there that are free to consume. But also, I mean, to really get the kind of change that a person is looking for, we'll say midlife, menopause is real. It changes how we function, it changes our bodies. And not to go down that road and just say, well, this is what happens when you get older. I guess I'm going to break a bone at some point. I guess my posture is going to fall apart. I guess I'm going to need help getting up from a chair when I'm older. It doesn't have to be that way. And this is where, when I think about financial planning, we plan for end of life services. Why not plan for living services that help us live better?
Right.
And I find that the people that do live longer, live healthier. I had a 95-year-old, he was almost 95, that I trained for 8 years. And he would tell me that I added healthy years to his life. And there's nothing better than that. Just hearing someone say that, I didn't ask him, I didn't prompt him, I didn't ask him for, a compliment. He could tell by the way he felt that this is helping. And it gave him more time with his family, more time with his kids, that he could walk and enjoy and, fly to another state to see his family. Whereas somebody who chose not to take that path doesn't have the same options.
Mhm. And Maria, that's for the business you created, a HotFlash Fitness. I see it is available in the United States. Is it also available for, internationally, like for the listener outside of USA?
Yeah,
No?
yes, it is.
You can see there?
It is. Yes. And later in February, I'm also going to be adding a line of vitamins. And the vitamins are, uh, I'm not sure all the terms, but bioavailability is kind of a buzzword right now, meaning that a lot of things we take in, our body doesn't absorb. And so there are a lot of nutrients that get excremented when our body can't take them in. These vitamins are made to work with your genes to give you more of what the particular nutrient is supposed to provide in the body. So there will be more to that in the coming weeks, but that's what I can say about that for now. So I'm really excited
Thank,
about that.
thank you for sharing that. Whereas that's a exciting news. So we just have two more questions and then we wrap it up for here for you. If that is okay, Maria.
That is great. Yeah,
That's great.
this has been fun. I love talking to your listeners.
Thank you. And any recommendations for books?
Yes, I've had a few that have been so good. I read books over and over again because they're just that good. Uh,
You love reading books, isn't it?
I do. One is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's a pretty popular book. And what I learned in the, we'll say, self-development space is these books are really good if you follow them. You can read the book and say, yeah, I know that. Yeah, on some level, we all do know that. But to actually take action on it, that makes the difference. Another book is called 2 Weeks Notice by Amy Porterfield. I actually read this book almost 2 years ago. I had surgery that was kind of unexpected, but I took a week off from work and I read that book, and I was only at my job for one more month. I couldn't take it anymore. This is where I said, like, I can be a really good employee or a really bad one.
Got you.
I decided the work I was putting in and the massive amounts of time I was putting into my job, I could spend that time building my own thing. And like we talked about earlier, to
Right.
cultivate the kind of work environment that is a win-win for everyone. Yeah, that book was pivotal. And also a book called Dangerous Prayers by Craig Groeschel. It is what the title says. And when we believe that God can do miraculous things even today, that's what those prayers are for. Not like, let's keep praying for the same things every day. Help my finances, help me have a good day. Those are kind of superficial things, but let's get down and dirty. God, do something in my life that is really moving. And it might be uncomfortable, but like going through that patch of briars to come out on the other side, a new person, is worth it.
How beautiful. And Maria, that's any final thoughts that's on your mind or heart that you like to share with our listeners?
Yeah. Ladies, gentlemen, you were made for a purpose and you were made on purpose. And whatever you're experiencing, it can be better. It's your time to shine. And there's nothing I would like more than to help you do that. So
How
thank you.
beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. And as we wrap up today's conversation, that I really wanted to say a big thank you to our guest, Maria, for sharing such a valuable insights and your expertise. So your journey and knowledge in fitness and strength training, I think have truly inspired us. And it is absolutely our honor to have you. Thank you. For our listeners, that whether you are just starting out or looking to take your fitness to the next level, so small steps and consistency make all the differences, right? And don't forget to stay active, eat balanced meals, and prioritize your well-being, just like Maria mentioned. And if you really enjoy today's conversation, and if you like to connect with Maria, please leave a comment or visit her website at www.hotsplash.com.
Hot
And
flash.
/ right? And we will also put a QR code on the right corner of the screen and we'll make it easier for you. And if you really you like to share your personal tips or advice on fitness that working for you, and please leave a comment so we can learn from each other, right? And stay tuned for our next episode. We are inviting a very interesting friend of mine, Bojan Tuko from Bosnia. And he's a first generation immigrant here to chase the American dreams as well. So with very unique natural talents in connecting with people. And he's very fun to talk with as well. So get ready for a fun, diverse cultural adventure with us. It's going to be fantastic. Maria, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, CiCi. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah, and until next time, take care and keep thriving our dreams. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.